This is Scratch's biggest problem.
The Scratch trending tab is full of generic games.
Scratch favors generic and simplistic games.
Generic games are going to be the end of Scratch.
And it's also my biggest problem. It feels like whatever Scratch game I put my hands on always becomes generic, and my friends feel the same exact way.
Literally the only thing Viiperrr knows how to make are generic platformers. Just quit.
Dude, Viiperrr, you only make generic games.
Bro, all of your games are so generic.
Son, why do you make the same game in every video?
So in this video, over the next 5 days, I'm gonna be going viral as the most ungeneric Scratcher by trying to get a combined total of 100 followers on my account to fix Scratch's biggest problem. Hello, welcome to day 1 of this challenge. So for our plan to fix Scratch's biggest problem to work, we need to make games that are not generic. So here's how this first game is gonna work. So you are gonna be a player, okay? So this is gonna be you. And you are also gonna have this little rectangle box thingy that's gonna be continuously rotating around you. There are going to also be enemies that pop up on screen. And now the thing that makes this game unique is that if this enemy touches you, you're safe. But if he touches the box rectangle thing around you, it's over. Basically, you have to protect this random rotating box that's around you. I think this has a lot of potential and it's really kind of like an original idea. So let's just get to coding. To start off this challenge, I signed out of my main account and started creating a new one. I didn't have a clue what I would name this account, but I eventually came up with Dreamy Doorbell. I can't lie, I think my usernames are getting worse with every video. After this, I decided it was time to start making the game, and I actually came up with a great idea that would really improve our plan. So instead of just being a random guy with a random box spinning around you, you are now a UPS driver and are trying to deliver a package, and the enemies are thieves trying to steal the box. I feel like this is an amazing upgrade and influences the entire vibe of the game. Now it was time to create the art for the UPS driver. I took some inspiration online, and although it wasn't great, I created a decent player and a walking animation to go with it. But there was no point for any of this if we couldn't move. So I quickly cooked up some movement and I optimized it to make sure that the player had as smooth and satisfying movement as possible. After that, I decided that it was time to add in the box that would rotate around you. But I first needed some art, so after a little while, I came up with this. It looked like a box, which was all the reassurance I needed. Now I added in the code that rotated it, which was really simple, and it looked exactly how I wanted it to. But now I was getting tired of the simple white background, so I changed it to a grayish color to make it look more like a road or sidewalk. At this point, I was getting tired of coding, so I decided to make some branding for this account. Since my username was Dreamy Doorbell, I thought it would only be fitting if we made a Dreamy Doorbell. I tried my best, and I actually think I did a decently good job. I wrote a simple about me and what I'm working on to finish up my branding, and I was happy with how it came out. But now it was time to get back to coding. So I added in the thieves and used a circle for placeholder art, and I felt like this game was already coming together. The game felt fun and fresh, so I was super glad that my plan for this game worked. Now I wanted to add in a little bit of polish, so I created a shadow for the player. This was a really tiny thing, but it helped our game feel more professional. And this concluded day 1. At this point, I severely underestimated how hard this challenge would be and the lengths I would have to go to fix Scratch's biggest problem over the next 4 days. Hello, welcome to day 2. Today, my plan is very simple. Just finish the first game. I don't think it'll be too difficult. We made some great progress. I actually really like the UPS theming. I think it's really original. So today, we're just gonna need to finish up the enemies, add some polish to the game, and add a score, and maybe add some power-ups if we have time for that. I really want to finish the game today so that we can save the rest of this challenge for the other games that we're gonna be making, which are some of the most original games that I'm probably ever gonna make on this channel. Let's just get started. Yesterday when we left off, we had these ugly and bland enemies. So I started off my day by giving them some art, and I think I kinda cook with this. But the thieves looked a bit unnatural as they just walked in a straight line, so I added in a sine wave that would make them sway left and right. This was really a simple change, but I can't believe how much better it makes the game. It gives more polish and makes them feel less like a rushed game for a YouTube video where I try to fix Scratch's biggest problem. Ha 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 ha. The next thing that I wanted to do was add in shadows to the enemy, but this ended up being much harder than I thought it would be, so low-key I gave up after a while. After that, I decided to add in the road to give the game more movement. I'm thinking about this right now, and it really doesn't make sense for a bunch of people to be walking in the middle of the road,
But who cares? The road looks cool. Now the game is basically finished, so I added a main menu and a thumbnail and shared the project. I promoted the game by adding it to studios and went to bed. I would definitely need to sleep for the absolute insane things that would happen from now on.
But working on this game so far actually made me kind of think about how much I love game development. The creative thinking, the problem solving, just all of it, honestly. But I know for a lot of you watching this video right now, the hardest part of game development is just getting started. But that's where GameMaker, who happens to be the sponsor of this video, can seriously help. GameMaker has been used to create commercial games such as Cats Organized Neatly and Chicory A Colorful Tale, selling hundreds of thousands of copies. And get this, GameMaker is completely free. So there's really no reason to not give it a try. GameMaker has a drag and drop interface, which makes it really easy and intuitive to use. So it's sort of like Scratch, but instead of being so limited, you can actually make complex games and not have to work around Scratch's restrictions. Additionally, GameMaker has a fantastic community around it. So if you are ever stuck or want to learn something new, you have support all around you. On YouTube, for example, GameMaker has their own channel with a bunch of awesome beginner resources. And once again, let me just remind you, GameMaker is free and you don't need to enter in your credit card to start creating your own projects or post them online. So if you click on the top link in my description, you can start creating your own professional projects for free, and you'd also be helping me out. And I'd also like to say thank you to GameMaker for the continued support on these videos. Alright, so it's the end of day 2. It's pretty late, it's like 11 o'clock right now. Finished promoting the game, sharing it. I'm really happy with how it came out actually. It's a pretty good project in my opinion, but it's nothing in comparison to the next 2 games that we're gonna be making. Those games are actually gonna be so crazy and so just huge. So I'm gonna go get rest for the big day ahead of us, which is day 3. And I'll see you there. Alright, welcome to day 3 everyone. So yesterday we finished our first game, which was the game where you're like the UPS delivery guy, but I think I have an even cooler idea for the second game. We're gonna be making a quiz game. This won't be any ordinary quiz. What we're gonna be doing here is you're basically trying to bomb an exam. You do not want to win this exam. If you do well on this exam, you're gonna be put in the advanced class, and you do not want to be put in the advanced class because it is way too difficult. But there's also another problem. If you get too low of a score, you go back a grade. So you really want to aim for some like middle tier kind of score. I think this is pretty cool, so let's just get started.
My coding for the day began with me deciding to call this game Midterm and drafting out the basic UI for this game. Since this game was more like a test and not a traditional game, it would be harder to make the player have a fun experience. So I knew that for this project, polish would be a top priority. This started with the buttons. I made sure they bounced really satisfyingly when you put your mouse on them, and although this took way longer than necessary, what needs to be done needs to be done. After that, I added an intro to this game that explains the purpose of this test, and why you need to get not too high of a score and also not too low of a score. This was all the time I had for today, which was a shame, and also meant more work for tomorrow.
Well, it's the end of day 3 today, and we did not get to finish the game. I really thought we could finish the game, but we barely even got started on it. This kind of ruins our schedule, so we're gonna have to spend tomorrow, day 4, working on our game, and we'll only have 1 day to create our final game. And our final game, let me tell you this, it's the biggest game that we're gonna be making in this entire challenge. So I don't know how we're gonna do it in 1 day. And also, I just wanted to say at this point in the video, thank you guys so much for the support you've been giving on these videos recently. I hope you guys are liking this style of content. Don't forget to leave a like if you're enjoying so far. And join my membership. You get some really cool emojis. And you get a shout out at the end of every single one of my videos. And it's only 99 cents a month. Okay, no, but anyways, like, tomorrow, I think we're gonna have the entire day to ourselves to code. So, let's go to sleep, wake up early tomorrow, and actually lock in for this challenge.
I started off this day by adding in the different questions. Basically, all I needed to do was make a scoring system, and based on how well the player was doing, display a different question. This was quite tedious work, so I only ended up making 3 sets of 3 questions and got tired. Here are some of the extremely cool and skibbity questions I made. But after hopping on a few minutes later, my mind was refreshed, and I was able to add in 2 more sets of 3 questions. It didn't require a lot of brain power, but for some reason, it was just really tiring. However, after playing through the game so far, I realized at the end the game didn't ever tell you how well you did. So I added in a system where if your score was above 1, you would be put in the advanced class. If your score was below 1, you would be put back a grade, and if you got a score of exactly 1, you would win. At this point the game was finished, so I added music and a thumbnail. I really like this thumbnail, but I doubted it would work well on Scratch, because it felt more like something you'd find on YouTube. But despite my worries, I shared the game and started to promote it, hoping that somehow we would get 100 followers. Oh, Viiperrr the Chef, Part 3, Brewdog Ramen. I need to keep this closed. We're waiting for the water, the noodles to soften. There's no one here, right? Okay, yeah. Okay, it's done, it's done. We have to just insert this stuff now. Hopefully my fingers don't get sticky or anything, that'd be terrible. Oh, I'm spilling it everywhere. Yep, just get it all out. Number 2, the spicy sauce. Oh, I'm scared to do this, because whenever I do this, my fingers, like, this is so spicy that it just turns my fingers red for like a whole day. Even if I wash it, I can't open it. Mom, can you help me? I can't open this. Help. Can we get a W mom in the comments? Okay, we got this. Okay, that's perfect, that's perfect. There's a little bit too much water in here, but it's okay. But yeah, tomorrow is the biggest day ahead of us, so I'm just gonna treat myself to a little snack today. Tomorrow we're actually gonna have to lock in, making an entire game, the biggest game in just one day. I'm kind of dreading it, but okay. I'm just gonna finish this in 5 seconds. Watch this, 5 seconds. Okay chat, it's finished. Alright, we're heading back. Gonna go to bed early today. You might be able to tell it's night. It's not really gonna be early at this point, but we have to go to bed for the big day ahead of us. Day 5, final day. I'm so happy to get done with this challenge. But by the way, I have an offer for all of you guys. For every subscriber that I get on this video, I will be doing 1 sit-up. And let's just say, for example, on this video we get 3,000 subscribers. I do 3,000 sit-ups. And if I get 30,000 subscribers, this is probably a really bad idea. But go claim your free sit-up right now, hit that subscribe button, and make me suffer. Alright, back to the video. Welcome to day 5. So today is our final day, and we have approximately 13 hours until this entire challenge ends. Now, you're probably wondering, what game are we gonna create? And whenever I make platformers, people always call them generic. But what if, for a change, in this video, the 3rd game that we're making is a platformer? But not just any platformer. We're gonna create the best, the most unique platformer in the history of Scratch. So, let me describe to you the idea that I have for this. Now, you might be wondering, what made people call my platformers generic in the first place? They didn't have a core mechanic, so they didn't have like a cool feature or something that differentiated them from every other platformer on Scratch. The art/assets that I used. So whenever you find a Scratch platformer, you always find the cube, you always find the grass, you always find the spikes. And people hated it whenever I added those things. Now, I know one third and final reason why people didn't like my platformers. Generic stories. So I'd always do, oh, your family was stolen by like an evil guy, and stuff like that, just like really generic plots. So making sure that we have a good core mechanic, fresh art and assets, and a really original story will ensure our success. Now, what are we gonna do? So what I'm thinking is we're gonna be making like a speedrunning game where you're a student and you need to go to your school. This is what a school looks like, definitely. But there's obviously obstacles along the way. So we're gonna have to do things like adding cars, people, some math problems. We're just gonna have to add a bunch of different features. I think that this is actually a pretty good idea. I think we're kind of set. I decided to name this game School Rush because you are rushing to school. We didn't have much time in the day, so I couldn't give it much thought. The next thing that I did was add in the ground, and immediately after, some platforming physics. This is pretty similar to the scripts that I use in most of my other videos, so they worked quite well. After that, it was time to add in some art for this game. So I made a simple player, and added some cute animations to go along with it. I like the style I had going with it, and I was especially proud of the texture and shading I achieved. The next thing that I did was add in some concrete for the ground. I can't lie, this isn't really concrete, it's just a solid color, but oh well. I also added in the sky because last time I checked, it's not white. With some of the art for this game out of the way, I now went into a Google Doc to plan out how this game would go. Here's what I wrote. This seems simple enough, but for all this to work, we need to have dialogue from the player that explains what he's thinking and what we need to do next. So I added in subtitles, and I think they look really pretty. I'm genuinely so proud of this for some reason. Using these newly added subtitles, I created some dialogue in the very beginning of the game. The player talks about how he woke up late, and that you need to run to try to catch the school bus. At this point in the day, I realized the background of this game looked kinda stale, so I added in some buildings to make it look more like a city. And it really helps our game pop out and feel more professional. The next thing that I added to School Rush was add the school bus that we would chase. I worked hard to design the art, and oh my goodness, this is glorious. Best thing I've ever drawn, literal masterpiece. Da Vinci is going down. Now it was time to add in the code for the bus. So I simply made it go towards the right of the screen. I knew that the levels would be stale if all you did was run in a straight line. So I started to add in some dangers, namely fire hydrants and pigeons. I started by designing art for each of them. The pigeons looked really good, and surprisingly they didn't even take that long to draw. I animated them to flap up and down, and they fit perfectly with the style that we had going. On the other hand, the fire hydrants were an absolute pain to draw, and I struggled for quite some time before making something decent. Not even sure if they look like fire hydrants, but I'm just glad to have them done. The next thing that I did was create the levels where the player would chase the bus. I designed 5 levels using the dangers to make unique challenges. At the end of these 5 levels, I added in a dialogue segment where the player realizes that he can't catch his bus and that he just wants to walk normally. And after this, I added in 5 more platforming levels, making them even more difficult by changing up the structure of the ground and introducing the void. I would honestly run away if I found a hole this big on my way to school, but nothing in my games makes sense anyways, so I didn't give it too much second thought. Ladies and gentlemen, we have officially 5 hours until this challenge ends and we either succeed or we fail. Haven't even finished the game today, even though I spent like basically the entire day working on it. 5 hours until midnight. Not even sure if we'll be able to finish it on time actually. This is cutting it close, but I guess let's get back to coding. The next thing that I added was even more dialogue from the player talking about how he is now lost. This brings you to the maze section of this game, where you need to complete a maze to find your way in the city. I thought this was a cool switch up and would make things feel more unique. I made the map quite easily and tried to make it at least slightly difficult to find your way out. I also created player movement so we could actually go through this maze. But I was having trouble with outlining the level, so I used one of Griffpatch's tutorials and eventually came up with something that worked quite well. Now the level doesn't look out of place and fits with the blue tint that we've added to everything else in this game. The next thing that I did was make the player talk about how he's not lost anymore and soon after receive a phone call from his mom. I drew up a simple phone and using 11 Labs, I created an AI voice for the mom. She basically just tells you that you need to get to school on time or else you can't play video games. I thought this was pretty funny and also added a little bit to the stakes of this game. At this point, there wasn't much time left for the game. I created 5 final platforming levels, and at the last level, I created some art for the school. This was basically the entire game, so I added in some sound effects and music. I also used Canva to make a thumbnail, and I think it looks really nice, and there's a high chance that people would like to play this. I shared the game quickly and started adding it to studios and advertising, knowing that there were only 90 minutes left for this challenge. And I relentlessly promoted this game until the clock hit 12. But I'm not going to tell you just yet if we succeeded in fixing Scratch's biggest problem. I'm first going to show you the 3 games that we made over the course of this video.
Hello, son. Today, I just really wanted to let you know that if you are late for school again, then you will not be able to play video games for the rest of the week. Anyways, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Have a good day, son.
Hello, end of day 5. It's cold. It literally turned midnight a minute ago, like 2 seconds ago, something like that. Today, we created an entire game, probably some of the most intense coding I've done on this channel, some of the most difficult coding. Are you still recording, 엄마? I can't leave you. I can't trust you. You're probably wondering if we succeeded or not, if we got the 100 followers that I said I would try to get, but I just had a really fun time making these games that just felt kind of original. I don't know. It just felt kind of nice to kind of experiment with something different, think outside of the box, and try something that I've never tried before. It was just honestly kind of interesting. So, sorry, it's a little bit loud, right? Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And now for the big reveal. Did we get 100 followers or not? Did we fix Scratch's biggest problem? No, we didn't. Yeah, 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 we did. Okay, everyone, have a good night. See you guys in the next video. That's all I have to say. Yeah. I guess I kind of fixed my biggest problem. But what if I were to apply what I learned throughout these 5 days into making the best Scratch game? Watch the video on screen right now to find out what happened. Wait, are you zooming in and out?